All right. Welcome back to the Hustler Circle, 3 Minds, 1 Mission. We actually have a very special guest today. It's our first guest of the 2025 podcast series, and I'm very excited to be joined by Maylin. Dimitri will give a little bit more perspective. It's actually a close friend of his and a business colleague that they've worked together for many years. But we're kicking off 2025 strong. We have some electrifying guests this year, and we want to start connecting the connective tissue between funding, credit, business strategy, and the needs that everybody is facing today, especially as we go into this year, new presidency, new administration, new business strategies. And I'm very, very excited to have you here, Maylin. And I'll hand it off to you, D, and just give a little bit of perspective and how you guys met. And then it's going to be your show, May. So we'll ask you a bunch of stuff. We want to know how you got started, how this business idea started. But first and foremost, I would love to understand a little bit more of how you and Dimitri met, as far as like from the business side, and then see where this conversation takes us. All right.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
We linked up when I first started. She's actually seen everything. She's literally seen everything from start to finish. She when we had Credit Supreme, when it started, like I've told you guys and the viewers countless times in the podcast, like we started out of a 500 square foot vape shop, and we had like bright orange couches, this, that, and the other, and it was just very tiny. And we were catching momentum, and Maylin and I met, and she became a coworker of ours, and she was just sending us leads, and then we eventually graduated to an office, and then 2, and then now we're in this facility. And during that time, she's still consistently sent us and all of our brands actually clients, and she's been a great consistent affiliate now over the years. And she's graduated as well now to doing her own consulting within a different area space. And so that's kind of like the history between how we met and like where we are as of today and what that kind of like that looked like along the way.
No, that's awesome. All right, so let's dive in. May I will call this segment part your origin story. So would love to take us back to the beginning of what made you start Vanity Consultants, and then also like how did the idea come about?
So first and foremost, I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of us. We've come a long way.
Yeah, we have.
So essentially, I've been in the field of plastic surgery sales for about 10, 12 years. And then I opened up my own med spa. I had an investor. We opened up about 3 locations. And then right before COVID hit, everything went a little bit south. We didn't see eye to eye. It happens in business. We parted ways. And then I was back to reinventing myself. 2020 was a very hard year, and I'm forever grateful for Dimitri, his brother, and Credit Supreme just in general, because they were starting off. And if it wasn't for the opportunity that they gave me to work with them and really get back out there to hustle, I was making calls left and right, sales left and right. And we all kind of like grew together. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have gotten my spark back and my momentum and really, start something from scratch. So Vanity Consultants was curated when I went back into the work field, and I went back into plastic surgery sales. And I was like, man, there's so many things that need to be corrected. Like as a previous business owner, I'm like, this all needs to be tailored differently. So I created strategies. I put it together. One day I just woke up and said, I'm launching the vision I've been holding off on for about a year. And it just took off from there. And I started helping countless practices. Everything's been organic. Everybody just refers me business. I'm very connected in the industry, and I increase revenue. And I love what I do.
No, that's really cool, especially the fact that you found not only through your experience, but also the gaps that you see in a lot of these practices is, operational. It could be either customer acquisition, whether it's a lack of follow through on any client or potential client comes in the door, or through an email or through a campaign. And it's bridging the gap between like, how do you get that person to show interest, but then also walk into the establishment and get services done, right? Yep. So D, like based on her origin story, I know you've realized that it's bigger than just an idea, right? And many times, and we've said this on the past podcasts as well, like how do you foresee businesses or anybody who's watching this that can take a little bit from what May just mentioned around being in it so deep that you realize the mistakes you personally make, but then also the opportunity that these businesses have to disrupt an industry that's pretty static. Cosmetology, cosmetic, estheticians has been growing over the course, as at least the aesthetic side has been growing over the last 3 years. But what I've seen is there's not a lot of disruption in normalizing processes, making marketing strategies a little bit better. Like, how do you foresee this changing in the next 12 months?
I mean, in terms of that industry, I don't really know how that'll change, but from what I've seen in her evolution, it's kind of two tiers, right? Like on the one side, people are effectively paying her for all the mistakes she's made or that she knows that the client needs to avoid, or the roadblocks that are potentially there that they just cannot see at that moment in time. And then the other part of it is she just knows a lot of people, and she's not afraid to knock on doors, and she's not afraid to to use tokens and cash in favors. And so I think when you have those two types of engagements, and when you have the engine and the drive to consistently wake up and just keep regurgitating, I'm going to do this with my life, I'm going to get here, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, it gets to a point where, like we say it all the time, like it becomes into a thought, to an action, then either a desired or undesired consequence. But regardless, it's like you threw the dart at the board. And then, not with us, with anybody in any industry, you're not going to have 100%, success rate in your shots. But the more time that goes by, the bigger the darts get. And the more wins you're getting, they're a little bit larger. So I think that in just a short time, because you've been doing this now for about a year now, right?
Yeah.
So in the short time, I've seen your clients, I've seen the testimonials, and
I get mind blown when I get started. I'm like, yes, I made it. I'm just kidding.
No, when we started the funding, when we had our first big kind of deposit come in, or our first month, it was like, oh shit, crazy, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh damn. But then it was also like Chris and I spoke, like let's also make sure we know that we've been there before, and so that we can make sure we can keep that chip on our shoulder that got us here in the first place. Because the minute that we forget any of those things, now we start getting comfortable and complacent and taking things for granted and not getting to that destination that we had when we had an edge on us. So I think that, at least for me, my opinion on where you've gone or where you're at right now from where both of us were even a few years ago, it's the consistency with the drive.
Yeah.
Just even if you have appointments, you're trying to set up new appointments. Even if you have that client who's paid you're still going to answer the call, because that client's going to give you another client, which has no acquisition costs, which you didn't have to pay for an ad. You get me? So it's like everything is interconnected, but everything also has to be treated separately as well. So, in terms of your evolution, it's been dope to watch.
Thank you.
Yours
too.
And I think, I love the aha moment of figuring out a niche that you're good at, which seems like it's a lot of things, to be quite honest with you. There's, you've heard the term jack of all trades, and you're a Jill of all trades in that scenario. And I see a lot of myself in that too. So starting a business is one thing. So you made that decision. Let's go back 12 months from before today, and you started the business. I know you have a lot of clients, and you mentioned your network is massive. Like, how have you gained the confidence to just be willing to reach out to that network? And this is something that I think a lot of folks need to learn, is kind of put yourself out there. A lot of folks tend to not want to do that because they want to build it organically, or they're afraid that people are going to say no. And I feel like that's actually the exciting part. For every 100 no's, there's one yes, and that one yes makes up for 100 no's.
100%. And I teach that consistently with all the practices that I work with and all the businesses that I work with. Now I'm venturing into different tiers of entrepreneurship. I'm launching a digital product. I'm working with other forms of businesses to teach sales just in general, without the niche of just medicine. And it is scary. I will say it's the fear of being in front of people, it's the fear of failing, but how can you know if you're going to be successful at something if you don't try? And I teach this with the physicians I work with the CEOs, with startups, with nurse practitioners that are just looking to venture into the world and figure it out. I'm not scared to get in front of people, because my biggest fear is to go back to being homeless, which I was when my son was 2 years old.
Wow.
So my why is so much bigger than somebody saying no. If you say no today, That doesn't mean you're not going to say yes tomorrow, and consistency. And like, to piggyback off of what you were saying earlier, it's like you have to wake up with that drive every day. It's you versus you. And there's times that we don't want to wake up. How many times do you want to sleep in or just say, today I just don't feel like working? And that's okay. You could give yourself grace once, but you got to still be consistent. You got to say, you know what, maybe the hurricane came today, but there's rainbows tomorrow, right? So, and that's what I teach with my practices too. Like, how are you going to be scared of investing in a consultant or scared of investing or pulling through for a business funding, for example?
Yeah.
If you don't know if you're going to get approved, you don't know if your numbers are going to go up, you make your money right back, you're scared of taking the risk, then you're going to stay stagnant.
Yeah.
And I'm not scared of getting up in front of anybody. What's the worst that can happen? They're going to say no, but they're going to remember the ballsy girl that went up to them and said, hey, I have an opportunity for you.
And I think it's interesting because we speak, and that's super well said. We speak to a lot of clients every day that are like, I don't know if right now it's the time. And I feel like every time we hear that, they've probably said that 50 times over the last 6 years.
100%.
And they could be in a position where they don't need a consultant because they made the decision 6 years ago to kind of leverage that. And that's the beauty of like what we do, and you as well, is we are going into these businesses or going into these conversations, having known the position that they're in and having made the mistake of waiting or trying to do it yourself without having the proper knowledge or approach.
Yeah.
All that does is takes a lot of your time, which you don't have that much. Like every day at 5 o'clock, I want to hang out and with my daughter, go to do things with her, hang out with my wife. Like I religiously do those things. Sometimes I stay till later because we run this business. But I'm like, the flexibility comes from when you take that risk and then all of a sudden the money starts coming in where you wouldn't have seen that money in the first place. And that's the kind of the component of like scared money don't make money kind of concept. And it's the truth. There's a lot of truth to it. And we've lost a lot of money in some of the businesses throwing $30,000 a month into marketing, but not targeting the right people. But then we hired a consultant and that person helped us get it. And then all of a sudden, $400,000 months. Yeah. I'm like, it's that easy, that shift. And I feel clients in general tend to like hold themselves back with fear. And I'm like, sometimes, in business, you got to be fearless.
The thing is, in any decision, whether it's in business or even in life, I mean, you can put certain things in place to mitigate exposure or risk. But at the end of the day, do you really know truly how things are really going to pan out? Whether you start dating somebody, whether you invest money here, whether you pull money from there, whether, whatever the case may be. So effectively, like, we're all essentially consultants. The person that changes the oil in your car, in your car is a consultant. He knows how to do that shit better than you. Yeah. Right. So it's like, that's why you pay him. So that's how I kind of see everybody's area space and the respect that it merits. Now, it just so happens that there's certain people that have been doing this so much longer that the respect and the way that we hold them in a high regard needs to be placed a little bit higher because they've been there before longer. So like, and you see all the time when we speak about people in our area space, like I will give accreditation where it's due because 100%. It's like, bro, you guys have put in the one thing that is a common denominator across the board for people that actually make it, which is you put the time in, you put the sweat equity in. And that's what all of us are just trying to do right now. And I think that, if that type of like respect gets given and received across the board, now you're in a place where the clients, and that's, I think, the reason why we have such a high acquisition rate with clients when we close them is because we put ourselves in their shoes and say, okay, this is how we can help you move forward from an objective perspective. But I think when it gets to, speaking to clients in like vague or in conjecture, that's kind of when they get off-putting, especially being based out of Miami where shit is kind of, people can act really weird. And I know probably everybody in their own respective cities thinks the same thing, but I think Miami is a very unique place for that. But ultimately, if you get up every day and you go ahead and grind, good shit's gonna happen.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, like I've been in those situations where I honestly, if I can help you, I'm gonna help you. I'm not one of those consultants that's here to take your money. Yeah. And I truly believe that Dimitri's has always been like that as well. Like there's been times I've sent them clients and they're like, wow, they're so honest. Like they said they didn't really need to do much and he guided me. So I think when you create trust because you're so passionate in what you do, it just flows nicely and people gravitate towards that honesty and that truthfulness. So I feel like the differentiating factor between all three of us, where we're at right now to where we were in the past, is we're working off of passion. So we're not working for money. We're working just off of the passion that we have to wake up and be consistent and give the gift of helping others within the realm of what we know and what we've polished. And it took us years and a lot of ups and downs, right? So I think that that's why we're all so successful right now, is because we're not working for millions of thousands of dollars. That just comes naturally.
And it does. And it's interesting because our businesses are a year and a half old. So like we're not, there are products.
We're scratching the surface.
There's products that we're getting for our clients that we can't even get because we don't have 2 years in business, right? SBA loans and stuff like that. And we celebrate every time our clients get a deposit of $150,000 SBA loan, $300,000 SBA loan. Like I'll show you and I'll pop it up on the screen. Like the text message between me, him, and our other partner Alex, we're like celebrating. Like it's like because I'm like for us, it's like we know what they're gonna do with that, right? Yeah. And then if it's gonna help them scale, hire more employees, because right now, the owner who's potentially a dentist or a doctor is doing the physical patient work and also doing some marketing, posting on Instagram. I'm like, come on, man. Like everybody needs their specialty. And then when you start scaling, you can't be afraid to spend the money on those things, because then all of a sudden you're gonna need another doctor because you're gonna have more clients. That's what I rather the decision if I'm the doctor. Maybe.
No, and then the other thing is too is that the demographic of people we're speaking to now. Like when we were working together doing credit repair, busting a fucking mission to have someone pay $100 a month. Like now you're talking about,
dude, we had to have a lot of patience.
Yeah, and then now you're talking about you're sitting with doctors on the board for hospitals, or I just forwarded the fucking tax returns to one of my friends that pulls in $27 million a year. So it's like
goals.
I'm gonna be like honestly, I have to sit up a little bit straighter. I have to pay attention a little bit more because it's a different vibe now. Like I have to be on point because these people have spent their life being on point. So I have to match their energy. And if I can, which that's, again, 50% of it is just picking up the phone.
Yeah.
They want to be heard. They want to be heard when they call you. And
it's like a therapy session sometimes.
It is.
But it's okay.
That's the reason why I have a high closing rate with all of your people is because when they call me, I say, okay, all right, what's happening?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then I'm taking notes in my head, or I'll be writing little notes down. Then the first thing I'll tell them is, all right, cool. Stress everything that you have going on other than this credit shit. Let me stress that for you because that's what I get paid for. Yep. And when I tell them that, it honestly doesn't really matter everything I tell them after, because they're going to do what I'm telling them anyways, because I already had the drapes match the blinds. I have the notoriety. I have the referral from you. I have the reviews. I have the systems in place. We have the objectivity. And when all those things exist, now the client can continue to move in whatever capacity they need in their life and let the credit shit, let us handle it.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with your consulting practice. When they go in there, they're here. Your job is to bring them up here, or they're at ground zero.
Yeah.
And then you're here, and then that's your mission that you have to bust. You have to bust that mission to make sure you get them from here to here. And that's the reason why you've had multiple instances where someone's like, yeah, the guy you sent me, Dimitri, he just told me to do this, and he didn't charge me. Because what is that all going to do? If I take them right instead of taking them left, I'm going to fuck up my time, which is the most... If I tell your friend, priceless. Hey, no, just give me $500 for this consulting. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I can't really do those things anyways. Now I'm going to have a poor experience with a client. I'm going to have a shitty review. I'm going to have my rating on Google drop. I'm going to have to give them a refund, or I'm going to have to worry about a chargeback. And now what?
And what's worth more? The referral that comes after that. That's worth more. The experience.
Exactly.
I'm with you on that. 100%.
Yeah.
And then I think so. Now that we understand your origin story, we understand your aha moment. We're in violent agreement, is one of the terms I use a lot. In the customer experience, the insurance that everybody finds value in what we're doing. Let's talk about 2025. I know you're in year 2 of this business, right? This consultancy practice. Like, where do you see like your biggest challenge or your biggest opportunity for 2025?
Well, 2025, I'm growing even bigger balls. No, just kidding. No, but for real, all jokes aside, I really am, because one of the biggest goals that I put out for 2025 is to get more in tune with the digital world. We're entering a world where everything is going digital, AI. I've done all my research, and I refuse to stay behind, right? So that's one of the shifts that I'm doing within my company. Everything is done through Zoom, and I'm very hands-on, but I'm focusing more on digital products that I'm launching and trying to get better, being the face of my platform. I've always been told, like, you're the ambassador, that's why you have so many followers. Once upon a time, I had 1 million followers, and I shut down my whole Instagram.
Got it.
And then I had to rebrand and so forth. I'm a very private person, but I'm also very out there. So that's what I'm working on this year.
Yeah.
Because that's where we're going towards, the digital world. And if you're not ahead of the game, you're going to stay behind. And that's all 2025, getting on YouTube, getting on IG more, on LinkedIn, on, I wouldn't say TikTok, even though my son gets paid from TikTok, they're going to take it away. But, just being in the forefront of the world. There's so many people out there that don't even know what we do, what any of us three do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we're hiding behind the scenes and we're getting better at it.
And I think, the good thing is that this podcast is going to help you because we're on YouTube, Spotify.
Heck yeah.
So everybody watching, we're going to drop links to May's socials or business socials. If you have a practice in the medical field or esthetician, I'm like, just hit her up because she's the best. But so we'll kick that off and help you, scale from there. It's funny, ask Z, I've been working, so my background is in operations and strategy. I ran Fortune 100 businesses as a chief customer officer before starting these businesses with Dimitri. So I've been in the background. I built our platform, the database. It's me. I didn't outsource any of that stuff. I could do it myself. And I've been leveraging AI tools that will remove 15, 20 minutes from his constant calls with his clients so he can review the credit profile. So I've been training AI to read credit reports.
I love that.
And it's gotten to the point where it's almost at 100% accuracy to how he reads it. I'm not trying to replace him. I'm trying to create a complementary solution to his skill set. Because
100%.
if he doesn't have to spend 15 minutes every client.
And on the video, I'm giving them
exactly.
but I'm giving them a lot of feedback in a 10-minute window. So then, they can rewatch the video again and rewatch it. But
they'll miss something.
They're gonna miss something.
By the way, I love that you incorporated that because you
You're
said
welcome.
it to me. Oh my God, I love that. I was like, what? This is great because you get to it when you have a chance.
Yeah, and you can replay
and you can refer back to
it.
But then now this is going to be like an interactive PDF to couple along with it. It's going to summarize, in color and everything, all the things that I highlighted in the video. So you can have the audio representation and the education, and then you have the visual as well on paper.
Love that.
So that's going to take us to the next level so that this just does what? Shaves time.
Yep.
Saves time. Shaves it and saves it. So...
Yeah, and so we're on the same wavelength for 2025, and I'll exchange some ideas, after this podcast. But I'm in agreement as well. I think 2025, everybody needs to focus on how to create more efficiencies,
100%.
and because the scalability will be crazy the moment you start leveraging the tools to complement your skill set. 100%. And I'm like, a lot of folks are afraid. They're like, oh yeah, it's gonna take over and all this stuff. And I tell them all the time, like, look, can it? Yes. But will it? No, because there's a human element to trust, and you can't build trust with like a robot. Yeah. And people are skeptical of that, and I'm glad that they are because they will always want this interaction.
100%. And I say this all the time in the practices that I visit. I get mind boggled when I see some staff members that don't realize how grateful they should be for even having a job. Because they don't realize that AI could take over in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I have partnerships where they're answering phones to eliminate front desk.
Wow.
But you still need that human interaction. You still need that body that's going to give you that TLC that I know that we continuously do with those one-on-one therapy sessions that I like to call it, but it really isn't. You're taking notes, you're gathering, you're giving, you're getting, And
even the remembering the first conversation, and Dee's very good about this. He's like, oh yeah, I remember you called like a year and a half ago. How's the baby? Because they had they broke their arm or something.
Yep.
Try to get an AI to remember that. And then they'll be like, it'll pause. How's the baby? And like, what? Like, so I feel like those are the type of things that our clients and our customers just love. They know that we know them and we're invested in their success. And it's a constant like hustle.
No, and they know that the thing is, in life, you have a person that's going to tell you what you want to hear, and then you're going to have a person that's going to tell you what you need to hear.
100%.
And I don't care who it is, when it is, where it is. Like he was like we have a few clients that we're doing funny for that do UFC, and they do bare knuckle fighting too. Like these guys are cooked. These guys literally go into a ring and fight people without gloves.
I'm just kidding.
Like, and one of them, so he hires us, so we remove some of his inquiries, and then he's supposed to be ready for funding. I go and he's ran his credit a bunch of times. And I go, hey, what happened, man? And he goes, oh, no, it was a mistake. All right, cool, no worries.
He sounds like me.
No.
Kidding.
So then, and I don't really know this guy, but then the next month passes. I go to check. He's been running his credit after he told me he wasn't going to do it after the first time. So that's it. I go, hey, man, we spoke last time. You said this, that, and the other. I go, listen.
All on you.
I go, I know what you do. I don't care. If you do this shit again, I'm gonna drop you as a client, because now I have to battle with your thoughts, which are irrational, and I have to combat that when at the end of the day it's gonna take what from me?
Yeah,
my time.
Your time.
So at the end of the day, and then him and I are closer than ever now. We're super, super tight.
Yeah.
But it's important to have that type of accountability for any type of engagements whatsoever, so that the person knows where the line is at, where the line in the sand is at, and how to move forward. Because if not, it's just going to be talk. And we're getting to a point right now where it's like, like the kids and the this and the that and the work and the bills.
Well, you know now.
Now
he's in it. He knows.
No, now I get it, and I have even a different understanding. Like now, I see the missions that that we're on, but like that my girl's on mostly. Like, so now I see you. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how did she even get here? Like the shit is crazy. Like the kids and the vomiting and the getting sick and then the fucking.
It just gets better. The ride gets better and more expensive.
And then the waking up at 3 a.m. and then going back to bed and then waking up again, and then it's a lot. So at least for me in this last year, since my son's been alive, I've always had respect for women, especially because I grew up without a dad, and my mom was my mom and my dad.
I love your mom.
But now I understand. I understand it. Yeah. I understand it with something attached to it versus just I understood my mom as the matriarch of our family. Now I get it that just women just are a bit above us all men, just because of the fact that giving birth, giving new life, it's something that it's probably the most incredible thing I've seen the last year in my entire life.
It's the most selfless act.
Yeah.
And it's the best role that we have, and like the best gift.
No, but and only one gender could do it, and they picked the right one, because I think men are too I would say into themselves, or and all that stuff. But you hit a good topic, and this is a curveball, segment.
I love curveball.
I would love to understand a little bit more about like how you juggle running a business and your kids. Obviously, you don't need to name names or anything like that, but like just give me a day in the life of when you wake up. What do you do? Like, because I have a 6-year-old daughter.
Yeah,
I
love that age.
She's 6 going on 30, and I'm like girls is, and he's not experienced it because he's got a boy, but girls, Alex can tell you, like they are.
Oh, you're
so advanced.
Me, I know.
I experienced it with Nina.
Like she legitimately is asking me questions. I'm like, oh, why did you tell this to the client? I'm like, you're 6. What are you talking about?
Like, why do you want to know?
Yeah.
For me particularly, I've raised both of my children by myself. My daughter's father, he has bipolar disorder, so he goes in and out, whatever. And I just learned to navigate through all of that. It was a little bit more challenging when you're dealing with that stress of the back and forth and making sure that your kids are in alignment, and then starting a business and you're dealing with clients and you're breaking your head. How am I going to get them? I don't have working capital and so forth, and just making life happen. Yeah. But I learned in my journey that I started like a spiritual journey in 2020. I was like, you know what? Everything has to do with mindset, and it has to do with you and how you program your days. So I started journaling, and I started really working on myself, meditating every single day. It's a non-negotiable. And I have to start my day an hour to an hour and a half before I give to everyone in my household. Nice. I have a 16-year-old son. My daughter is 10 years old, and she's 10 going on literally 20. So in order for me to be great for everyone, my clients, my kids, my friends, my peers, and for me to be able to pause and be able to speak properly, I have to give myself an hour. If I don't do that, my whole day is shot.
It's like that.
So if that means that I'm starting my day at 6, I'm waking up at 4:30, 5 max. And that's when I meditate, I journal, I make my coffee, I eat my breakfast in peace. And if I have a little bit of extra wiggle room before I go wake up the kids and start my day, I'll throw something else in there. Maybe read a book or see a podcast that's going to motivate me for the day or for the week. Then I wake them up, I go, and my whole day is already pre-programmed. And this is something that I also teach. Time blocking is so essential. Even if the gym is on your schedule, you're seeing it. You know what your day is going to look like. So there shouldn't be any excuses for anything to go tipsy-turvy, because in between all of that, we're burning out fires on a day-to-day basis as parents and entrepreneurs. So how are you going to have your day go nice and flowy if you're not seeing what your day is going to look like and you're not giving yourself grace? You're not giving yourself alone time. I'm also very big on, social gatherings. You can't be a parent 24/7, and I am a parent 24/7, but I never feel guilty when I have to go to a networking event or when I have to go to a dinner to socialize, because I can't be my best version if
You're
not
stuck at
pouring
home.
into me.
Yeah.
So that's my advice for everybody at all times, and I'm mom and dad, literally.
No, look, I'm like, more power to you. And I feel like it's interesting because, I've always been, like I mentioned, I used to travel a lot for work. When I'm telling you,
Yeah, a lot.
there are a lot of people who travel. I was 2 million miler on Delta, million miler on American Airlines, million miler on JetBlue. I lived on a plane for like 12 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And for me, the biggest component was like spending time with my family and with my wife before my daughter was born. But I always made time to like just go out. I lived in New York for 7.5 years, in Jersey for 3. And then when I would visit, I always made it a point to see D. Or when he came up to New York, I'm like, oh, stay at my crib. Because I just loved interacting with people.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I feel like the social component is a critical part to your well-being. Like if you're at home, it's great. I love being home. Don't get me wrong. Anybody who's watching, they know I'm a homebody. If I could be home, I'll be home, but I'll invite people to my house. I'll cook, I'll barbecue. I have a smoker in the back. I'll have the kids come to the pool. It's fun. I love to host because I need that energy. That's my I would say that's my circular reference on a daily basis. If I meet people, I'm in it. During COVID in New York, it's like someone, I don't know, it's like if you ever watch Superman,
Heck yeah.
that kryptonite, my kryptonite was taken. My kryptonite was left. The kryptonite was put into my house when I was forced to stay home. Like I legitimately turned into like a mellow person. And even D was like, "Bro, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Brother, I'm like, you know how inauthentic I can't be on Zoom." I'm like I want to hug people. I saw you today. I was like, hug.
Yeah,
I see Rico. I hug him.
The Zoom gatherings because I need social. I need to be social.
I'm like, but it was. I was feeding myself through
for
Zoom.
you guys, but when we were in COVID, that was in 2020. Remember?
Yeah.
So and all the viewers and stuff too. I already put content, that I did time this, that, and there. But when we were there, I remember this one moment. So Stephanie was. We were in the apartment and we were living in Biscayne Beach. So it was sick. Like I was super happy, whatever. She goes, "Oh, are you getting like cabin fever with this quarantine stuff?"
Yeah, of course you're gonna get it, especially after what you went through. Are you
Not
kidding
him.
me?
No, not me. I'm like,
bro. He was like, I was
Stephanie,
in.
I'm like, Stephanie, I just did fucking 3 years in federal prison. Do you think I give a shit that I'm in a fucking badass fucking...
You can see the beach every day.
That's
in the
true.
fucking water,
Right.
and I press a button on my phone and I have Uber Eats. I can put whatever I want on Netflix. I'm playing my video games,
You're
Grand
like,
Theft
I
Auto.
have AC, I have gourmet food.
I go, look, hey, Stephanie, for real, like, just miss me on that one. I'm like, that one, like, I don't have I'm like, this shit's fire, actually. I'm like, I'm trying to be on quarantine longer.
And I'm literally thinking that you did have cabin fever because you're like
No,
stuck.
bro, no. The thing is,
I'm with Stephanie on that though. I could see why she'd ask that.
No,
She's probably like, I want to take you out to explore the world and we're stuck.
yeah.
Like the Little Mermaid. I can
Yeah.
show
Yeah. But the thing is, even in those moments too, it's like you just grab the consistency and the list of the things you do daily and you just do them in a different capacity. And then
Yeah.
that's when the people were doing canoeing on the boats and in the bay and doing all the little outdoor activities. So you figure it out with whatever the conditions that are and that exist, and you run with it. And then, you figure out a habit or a habitat that makes sense for you and you're good.
Yeah, so I think, it's great, the perspective you provided. I love some of the ideas about like waking up, dedicating an hour or two to yourself before you dedicate to others, because a lot of folks don't do that and they get lost in the sauce every day.
Yeah, you're gonna get burned out.
I'm like, and you do. I'm like, sometimes, like, I wouldn't say more recently, but we've been doing a lot more. Like we just came back from Philadelphia, went on a football trip, and we'll do this. And I'll tell my wife, and we'll tell our significant others, it's like, hey, like we just need to go away for a weekend because we're in it. We're in it, and that I'm like, we back ourselves. Our backlog, tell Rico, and I'm like, it was like Monday was like meetings and like emails, and I'm like, damn. I'm like, even when we take time off, we come back to it. But I'm like, we felt recharged.
You do. You need to recharge those batteries. I mean, listen, there's a reason why there's outlets, right? And we're constantly charging our phones and stuff. The same with the human. Like same with children. 10 o'clock, I'm clocked out. Yeah. My 16-year-old always at 11 o'clock, he wants to have a conversation.
Yeah, of course.
Boy, from like 3 o'clock till now, you had your chance. This is not the time, my dude. Yeah. And he's like, fine, then don't say I didn't want. I'm like, I love you, but you're gonna have to say this for working hours. And it's always, I don't even use my phone after 10 p.m. Even if it's a client, they're not in a dying need. This isn't a hospital. If it's an emergency, go to a hospital, right?
Yeah.
It could be tended to. I'm sorry, it's facts. It's facts. I have strict rules which help me with my mindset. And he saw me at my worst point. How bad was I when you first met me in the beginning to now? Like I was all over the place because I didn't do these practices.
Yeah.
I was
going through a lot of shit too, so I don't really remember.
But I was the person I was like in 2019, beginning of 2020 is not the person I am today. And it's all these little shifts that I've done that may sound so minute for somebody, but for me, it's a big deal. I cannot have a conversation with anybody after 10 p.m. because I don't want to. I want to go to sleep happy. I want to go to sleep calm, chill, not worried about what problems you're bringing to me or saying or whatever. I don't care for that.
Yeah, we're the same way. We're just always talking until like 1 a.m.
Yeah, unless it's happy stuff.
I'll talk to him.
Unless it's happy things, I don't want to know.
No, they are kind of happy.
Like and everybody's different. Like you wake up.
That works for me.
Yeah, you wake up. Like what I'm going to tell you right now, it does sound funny, but I actually do this. Like every morning, I send 2 text messages out. One to my brother and one to him. Aww. And they're both laced with profanity. I'm not even playing it.
It was like a moment of awe.
No, they're both they're.
But we know that he's woken up in a good mood.
But I'm already good. Like it's something disrespectful to both of them that I won't repeat on here. But it's every single day. It's every day, just to let them know what time I'm on. And I like getting the day started like that. And then if I get something in return, all right, cool. And then we keep it moving.
Please keep the motivational ones that you said when we talk.
Yeah, I'll keep those over there. Yeah.
Because I like the motivational to me.
He'll send that to you once a month when he's motivation ready. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll move over to the last component of our podcast show today, which is a rapid fire question. We like to end anybody who comes onto the show with a set of rapid fire questions. If you're down, I'm gonna shoot them out to you. If you're okay with that,
let's do it.
All right, cool.
Oh, I'm so scared.
What's you kind of gave us this answer, but I want to hear it specifically when I ask it. It's like, what's your go-to productivity hack?
Oh, time blocking.
Time blocking. And for those who didn't know, it's just rewind. She's gonna explain a little bit what that means. What's one tool every business owner should use in 2025 for your specific consultancy? That's a tough one, I know.
That one's a little bit tough because I would say the importance of leadership, time blocking, and having your phone. Your phone is the only tool you really need nowadays.
Agreed.
You could do everything off of it.
No, agreed. And answering the phone, which is, I think, a lot of folks decide to put it on silent.
Yeah, social media, branding, time blocking, mindset, podcasts, everything.
And what's funny? I'll ask you another question, but I'll give you a little perspective. I used to be one of the ones that always had my phone on silent. Yeah. And then I would only allow it to ring for my favorites. So D was on there, 11 other people, my parents, my wife, etc.
Yeah.
But now that I've been a business owner, literally I pick up every phone and the amount of spam calls I get.
Crazy.
Oh my God, it's so crazy.
And it's like,
crazy.
hello, can you hear me? And I'm here like, hello?
I
I'm like,
hate it so
I-
much. And the phone is supposed to block it and it doesn't.
It doesn't. It drives me nuts. And I answer it
crazy.
because it looks like a real number. I'm like, oh, okay. And they put like business names now. The University of Miami. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
Hi, Marilyn.
Yeah.
Marilyn. I'm like, you're a spammer.
Exactly.
Because you're not calling me May. Marilyn.
All right. Next question. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Don't try to be the smartest person in the room. Always literally invest in yourself and your knowledge. There's something new to learn every day.
I agree 100%. If you could start over, what's one thing you'd do differently? And that's the last one.
I would listen. Many times in the past, I thought I knew everything. And I wouldn't just pause and listen. Now I just pause, I listen, I learn, and I go and I try to learn more from what feedback I'm getting.
Yeah,
wasn't like
you've
that.
definitely slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, I was never like that before, and that was why I would hit a brick wall.
Yeah.
Active listening is, and we talk about it, and well, Dee and I had just a me and him podcast about leadership and stuff. I would say one of the hardest pieces that I've helped a lot of folks in their career learn, because I was like you, I was a bull in a china shop right out of college. I'm like, I thought I knew everything, and I was like, oh, I'll jump right in to give an answer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, I actually missed a question.
I think it was primarily for me personally. I was always on like survival mode, like a flight or fight
Yeah.
kind of mode, right? So I always would, I don't know, like I would just get like defensive or like, no. And even if I didn't know it, I would act like I knew it, and that's the wrong mentality.
Yeah.
Like, and I teach that all the time as well, because that's my learning curve. And that's something I wish I would have done differently. A lot of things would have been different. Literally.
But look, I feel like
You live and you learn.
Well, while I agree, I also think that's part of the growth path,
Yeah,
right?
growth.
And everybody learns at different stages, but as long as you acknowledge that listening is part of your
Huge.
skill set now, and it's
Yeah.
probably what's made you the successful business owner that you are today. So I feel like that's the component, spam caller. That's the component that we kind of go through every day. So I want to thank you first, May, for coming to our podcast. You're our first guest speaker for this
so
year.
excited.
So your insights, your advice, your energy is stuff that we love to gravitate towards. So we appreciate you taking time off of your busy schedule to come and join us. And in the links below, you'll find access to Maylin's page, her business page. Just make sure that you give her a follow, and she's going to start posting a little bit more about her individual YouTube and stuff like that. So we'll make sure we'll holler at people from there. And then also remember, every person who's watching this, you're a hustler. If you want to continue to succeed, keep subscribing and following us for more exciting content like this. We appreciate you. Thank you for your time,
Guys.
and have a great rest of January.